Alright, so we're working on a 2008 Mazda CX7, and what is wrong with this thing is the compressor locked up, and when it did, it broke the idler, broke the bearing on the idler pulley. I've already replaced that, but it also tore up the it actually didn't lose the belt. It tore up the clutch on the AC compressor and the bearing that the AC compressor pulley rides on. Let's see. Shot. It broke the bearing. So we got to replace the AC compressor, and since that bearing's bad, you can't even get by with driving it without AC, because that's not going to last. That's going to come apart, and you'll end up chunking the belt and probably throwing that pulley somewhere when it comes off or seizes up on the shaft there. So I went ahead and I removed the belt, or got it loose. There's a tensioner right down there. You just use a long wrench and get the tension off, and I just slipped it off the water pump there. And I'm draining the coolant. This one has a these CX7s have a parallel flow condenser. So you've got to replace it. You can buy it online for 78 bucks. So compressor is like 200 bucks. And I'm not sure yet. Every picture I see of the condenser shows the accumulator bolted to it. This one, the accumulator bolts to the condenser, the dryer slash accumulator, bolts to the condenser. So condenser's 35 bucks. And all the pictures I see of the new, the accumulator's 35 bucks. All the pictures I see of the condenser show the accumulator bolted to it. You know, like shows a new so it looks like the condenser comes with the accumulator. So I've reached out. This is finding parts on eBay. Just trying to find the best deal on parts, and I've reached out to the seller to confirm that that's how it comes, but we don't have any parts today. I can't find parts for this thing locally anywhere. All the parts stores have to order them. AutoZone's about the only one that shows that. Well, I think O'Reilly did too, but AutoZone's about the only one that shows that they can get the compressor. They show the compressor for $415, and I can get a brand new one. And I don't know if that was rebuilt or new. Probably new. I can get a brand new one on eBay for with shipping for 200 bucks, and a rebuilt one for 180. So it's not worth the 20 bucks to go for a rebuilt one. So we'll get a brand new compressor ordered. We'll get a this thing does not have a orifice tube. It has a expansion valve. So I'll get a new expansion valve ordered, condenser, and accumulator. So while we're waiting on parts, we will go ahead and tear into this thing. And what I've done, I've got the coolant draining. I'll show you where to drain it. I went ahead and pulled the wheel off and pulled this cover off just so I can get in here and see everything. There's the, you can see it just tore up this clutch. I made sure the new compressor comes with a clutch. And you see that just shot. Not only does it have in play, but I can pick up and down on it. So you can't even get by with just running this thing with no AC for a while, because it's just shot. It will not last. So this car is immobile. So for the coolant, there's a drain right there. It's a little 12mm plastic plug. I've got that draining. And then I think I'm going to go ahead and I'll get in here with something and unbolt the fans. And then get up here and unbolt them up here. Get this coolant reservoir tank out and just start getting to the radiator. Since I'm replacing the condenser, I'm going to pull the radiator and condenser out. And I think it would be easier anyway to get to the compressor with the radiator out. This is not going to be an easy job by any means. This compressor is buried down in there, so getting it out will not be fun. You can see one of the lines right there. We got another line right there. So, enough blabbing for right now. Let me let this coolant drain, and I will go ahead and pop this reservoir tank off. And get these fans unbolted. Get the radiator hoses and stuff like that undone. Made some progress. Undid all these clips from the fan. There's 3 bolts that hold the fan on to the radiator on the top, 3 on the bottom. Got the top radiator hose undone. Like I said, I've got the radiator drained. Undid these 2 brackets for this line right there. I pushed the wiring harness down, undid this sensor right here, which was right behind here. I don't know if it's for airbag or what, but it was right there. So I just pulled these, undid these. So I could pull this far enough away to get in there and get that undone. I had trouble getting the connector off. Couldn't, so I just unbolted the thing because the wire came over the fans and over the radiator, so I had to get that out, and I couldn't get the plug undone. So I just took the sensor off. Like I said, I undid all these clips, undid these connectors from the fan. I guess it's a fan relay. Had to take the fan relay off the passenger side, and it's bolted to the fans. Had to take that. There's 2 screws that hold it on. Had to take that off so I could have enough clearance right here. Pulled the dipstick out, and I was able to barely squeeze it up out of here. Now the next step, I'll have to undo these 2 transmission cooler lines, and then for the radiator, it's got these caps. Pop those off, and then there's a rubber mount right here. Pull those off, and then that will get the radiator undone, and it should slip out of the bottom mounts. I'll have to look underneath and see. That'll be the next thing, is just to get the radiator out. Alright, so I've got a lot done. Like I said, these little clip things that come off and a little rubber piece comes out, and then the radiator will just flop over, and it just pulls out of the bottom mounts. So just pull it up, get your wires out of the way. Once I got the radiator out, then I was able to get to the compressor even easier. If you were just, well, if you're doing a compressor, you need to do the condenser anyway, but if for some reason you had to do the compressor by itself, you might could get it out, but it's really difficult. And this plug was difficult to get out too. I went ahead and just got the compressor. There's 4 bolts that hold the compressor to the block, and then there's a bolt that holds, there's a little wire or hose holder here. There's 1 bolt that goes through it that holds it to the compressor. It holds those lines. I went ahead and undid the 2 coolant lines right here just to get them out of the way. You can see where the compressor bolts right there and there. It's just 4 bolts. And undid the two lines on the compressor. You want to discharge it first, and I laid the other one somewhere. Oh, up here. There's it. I just laid it out of the way. So that's pretty much it. Now I need to get the condenser out. I need to look and see. I think I've got some of those little things that undo these connectors. It slips in there. You get this connector undone. This one unbolts, and then it looks like two nuts hold it out, and it'll slip out of the bottom. So let me do that, and we'll be done with the disassembly. Alright, so you'll need some of these line disconnects that slip up in here and release the clip that's on these lines, and then the line just pulls out. Got a set of them. And then this one just unbolts. So let me get these off, and then we will get this out. The condenser is out, and the accumulator slash dryer is mounted on the condenser right here. So the reason you can't flush these is a normal condenser, well, series condenser I think, is that would be, you'd have your inlet and outlet, and the inlet tube snakes through the fins and goes to the outlet. On this one, it's parallel. It's almost like a radiator, where you have like a common tube for your inlet, and it feeds all of them. So it feeds all these. I guess this is broken at some point where it feeds it, and then it comes back to the outlet. It must be divided up probably right here. So you can't flush these, because if, say, this tube had a chunk of metal, was plugged up with metal, when you start putting pressure to it, all your pressure is going to go through every single other tube, and not that one that's got the chunk of metal in it. And then that metal can come dislodged and go back into the compressor. So got to replace it. And there it is, all empty. It just sits in those rubber mounts in the bottom, and there's those two nuts on the top to hold it in. So that's where we're going to stop for now, and I need to get parts ordered, and then we'll put it all back together. Thanks for watching. Forgot to mention one thing, or two things. The coolant reservoir bottle just pulls up out of the fan shroud, and this air intake tube pulls out of the little rubber grommet that's on the air box over there, and then you just release this clip on the bottom of it, and it's got two bolts that go through the top, and you'll need to pull this piece out to get the radiator out and the fan out. So these two bolts, and then the rubber grommet that pulls out, and then you reach under here and release the clip on the bottom side of the air box. And like I said, the coolant bottle that sits right here just pulls out. It kind of pushes in and kind of snaps in the fan shroud, and it just pulls out. But you got to get that wire loom out of the way, because it passes through the center of the coolant bottle. So you got to get the wire loom out of the way and get them down out of the way. Anyway, so now, thanks for watching.